Thank you. Hello, good morning. I'd like to thank everybody here who's here early because I'd like to run through some of the music which you don't have written down and have to learn by rote. So there's a song in your program titled A Place for You, and the text is kindness makes a place for you. That's one line, beauty and then justice. But we're going to be I'd like to sing it to you right now on the word love. And what does that C sound like? Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Let's do that one more time. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Now, you can sing that in the service when we get to that spot on kindness makes a place for you where everything is new. We'll repeat each of those lines 4 times, and I'm going to add in some harmony. And if you know the song already, if you know those harmonies, you can sing them with me. So when I get to the 3rd time through a line, I'm going to sing the higher harmony, which goes like this. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. If you want to try that with me now, go ahead. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Yeah, so I'll sing that on the 3rd time through each line. And on the 4th time through each line, I'm going to switch to the lower harmony, which sounds like, love has made a place for you where everything is new. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. So when we get to that part in the service, you can sing whatever works best for you. You can stick on the original melody, or you can try those harmonies. Thank you.
Do-san. I hope I didn't scare you, but that's actually Cantonese for good morning. I hope everybody here and at home are having a wonderful start to their Sunday. My name's Eddie Chen. I'm president of Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, and it's my honor to welcome you on behalf of the board and the program council. You're welcome here, whoever you are, wherever you're from, and wherever you're on your journey. If you people here that would like to learn a little bit more about us, you can fill out the visitor information card that's located in the back seat pocket of the pew in front of you and place it into collection plate when it goes by, and someone will be in touch with you. And we haven't forgotten about you folks at home. You can go to our church website at tvuuc.org and go to Stay in Touch and fill out the virtual visitor card, and someone will be in touch with you too. As we move forward together, please remember that we are each other's keepers. If you and your family are interested in programs for children, youth, and parents, please visit our religious exploration table located in the lobby. The church website also has updated information about this year's programs and events, as well as resources for families. Now we're getting to, seems like we've got a bunch of announcements here. Betty and Casey, are you here?
Good morning, everyone. So it's Betty and Casey in front of the sanctuary. It must be time for Let's Connect to make announcements. So today is the last day to vote for the Volunteer of the Month. You can do that in the ballot box in the fellowship hall, or you can do it online. So please do that. We love to see lots of names nominated for Volunteer of the Month, and it's a extra special part of our First Sunday Lunch celebration. So speaking of First Sunday Lunch, that is next week. Next week, can you believe it's September almost already? Justice Knox will be our sponsors for the September First Sunday Lunch. Justice Knox is a social justice organization that joins with 22 other congregations in Knoxville, 21 other congregations in Knoxville, and focuses on grassroots social justice initiatives. So please join us next Sunday after the service and learn more about Justice Knox. The lunch, right? What are we eating? The lunch will be salads and breads and salads. We're asking folks to join us in potluck contributions for hearty entree-style salads and fancy breads to go with those salads. Justice Knox will be providing desserts. So thanks. We hope to see you there.
Thanks, Betty and Casey. Patsy, you here?
All right, can you hear me? All right, I'm Patsy Farmer, representing TVUUC's Adult RE Committee and the 8th Principal Task Force. I'm here to invite each of you to the new First Sunday series, Wait a Minute, starting right after the First Sunday Lunch next week, September 3rd at 1 p.m. The creation of this Adult RE series was doubly motivated, first by learnings from the 8th Principal Task Force workshop last February on the 8th Principle, led by our own Reverend Duncan Teague, a former TVUUC ministerial intern who founded an African-American-centered UU church in Atlanta 5 years ago. Who remembers some of Reverend Teague's inspiring, wise, and sometimes challenging message? Any of you were there? All right, great. He provided much to inform our continuing implementation of the 8th Principle, which we adopted in 2021. The second motivation for the Wait a Minute series was the wonderful response to the flipped service last May, where we adults ventured past the double doors for a toe dip into the sacred act of personal and spiritual growth and learning together, and then the wonderful adult RE visioning meeting afterwards. Those sessions revealed, among other things, a thirst for deep discussion with people we don't necessarily talk with often. We appreciate all of you who participated in that Sunday and those engaging and moving conversations. Now, fast forward to last Sunday with our story for all ages about UU values with what at the center? Love, with love at the center. And then remember the focus of Reverend Teague's workshop, the 8th Principle, with which TVUUC covenants to work to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. So it's logical to begin our series with beloved community. Beloved community, wait a minute. You may be thinking, wait, aren't we already a beloved community? You may be thinking, wait, that's just pie in the sky. You may be somewhere in between. Wait, I'm overwhelmed with what needs to be done. Your thinking may be altogether somewhere else. Whatever you're thinking, please join us and share your ideas about beloved community. We'll also reflect on the history of the term and what it meant to mid-20th century civil rights activists, and consider what the eighth principle calls us to do as individuals and as a congregation. The goals of these sessions do not include changing anyone's mind about anything. Rather, learning to live the historical meaning of beloved community, in which disagreements and differences of opinion are expected and are met with deep listening for understanding, with respectful responses, and with peaceful, liberating acceptance that we can love others without requiring them to think like we do. We hope you'll join us after every first Sunday lunch, though I need to say that there are other wonderful sessions being offered at the same time. Check them out and choose the one that calls you.
Thanks, Patsy. Maybe it's your turn.
Hello. Good morning. So I'm going to be facilitating one of the other offerings next week after the first Sunday lunch. I am a certified sound healer, and I have been doing sound baths for many years. And so I will be offering a sound bath. And you say, what's a sound bath? And I say a sound bath is an immersive experience in the world of sound. It's not a musical concert. I will not be playing songs, but I will be playing sounds that will help the body to release and relax tension. So if you are interested in experimenting with this wonderful offering that I'm giving to the church, it will be in room E after the Sunday lunch at 1 o'clock. I recommend bringing something you would like to lie on, like a yoga mat or a thick blanket. I can do it with you sitting in a chair, but it's much more relaxing if you're lying down. So I hope to see you next Sunday. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mebby. Coming down the home stretch, we've got 2 more messages here. Also, if you hear me screaming, it's because there's a wasp here, and if it attacks me, I'm running. Message from Mark Mahundro. What is QUU Questions? QUU Questions is a meeting for visitors or those who want to know more about TVUUC, Unitarian Universalism, and the path to membership. It's also open to current members who may want to deepen their connection to TVUUC and Unitarian Universalism. The meetings are held on the last Sunday of the month. Light snacks will be provided. We look forward to meeting you. Our next session is today at 12:45 after church in the Lizzie Crozier room. That's the room on the right as you're leaving the church. And finally, message from Mary Rogie, growing our TVUUC Green Sanctuary program. Are you concerned about our natural environment, worried about climate change in the here and now and for the future generations? Do you have ideas about what we can do better to reduce energy waste right here in our TVUUC congregation? Do you want to know more about environmental resources you can use at home? Have resources to share? Have you been looking for ways to get more involved in environmental justice issues in our larger community? We welcome you to bring your ideas and interests about environmental concerns and opportunities and to act together through our TVUUC Green Sanctuary program. Today, we have an information table about Green Sanctuary in the Greg McKendry Fellowship Hall after the service. Stop by and say hi and let us know what is important to you. For folks watching online, you can also reach Green Sanctuary information on our TV UUC website through our Let's Connect interest survey. Check it out and let's connect. Okay, heading down the home stretch here. Please join us for coffee and conversation after the service in the fellowship hall or out on the patio. It looks like we can do it this time. Unfortunately, for those online, we're not having a Zoom coffee hour today. Now, please silence your electronic devices as we enter into worship together.
Good morning. I'm going to ask you to repeat a mantra after me. All moves on in perfect motion.
All moves on in perfect motion.
All is change and ever-rolling ocean.
All is change and ever-rolling ocean.
And all moves on in perfect motion. All is change and ever rolling ocean. All moves on in perfect motion. All is change and ever rolling on. I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion. In the winds of ever change and in the ever rolling ocean, I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion. In the winds of steady change and in the ever rolling ocean, all moves on in perfect motion. All is change and ever rolling ocean.
Good morning. I'm Suzanne Brown, Worship Associate for today's service. Our opening words are by Margaret Weiss. Come into this place with your whole self, the parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place. Open your heart. Lay down your burden. Lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey. Some faces new and others familiar, and all welcoming you here now to this moment. Come, let us worship together.
Go ahead.
Please rise and join in singing our chalice sliding hymn.
I invite you to join together in our opening hymn, 124 in the gray hymnal, Be That Guide.
Good morning. It is good to be gathered today in all the ways that we gather here in this room, and those watching from home or from another space in our building, welcome. So today, in our religious exploration programs, one of the spaces we offer that young people can choose to take part of is introducing our reflection room. And some of us may be familiar with that space already, and it may be new to many of us, but I wanted to have a little bit of a chance to introduce it a little bit. But first I have a question. Is there anybody here who ever feels a little overwhelmed? Is there anybody here who ever feels a little upset? How about who feels a little worried? Is there anyone here who ever feels like sometimes your mind is going so much faster than you want it to go? And it's hard to bring it back to that calm space. So the reflection room is a space that we offer where we focus around ways to come back to that calm center. And the service this morning is talking about prayer and reflection. And so we're going to share a practice that we offer as one of the things we'll explore in our reflection room. Every time we gather, we have a lot of things in the space to choose from. We have a central question of the day, and we often in the center will introduce some tools. Some of us often have our engines running really, really fast. Does anybody here feel like your engine is usually running really, really fast? Some of us might have experiences where we feel like our engine, or the engine of our insides, is running too slow. Is there anybody ever who has been sleepy when you wished you weren't sleepy? And some of us may have experiences where we feel like our engine is running just right. And in fact, everybody has times when your engine, the engine of your body and your mind, runs really fast. All of us have times when our engines run really slow. And I hope we have times when our engines run just right, because different situations call for different things, right? If you are about to run a race and you want to run really fast, do you want your engine to run fast or slow? You want to have a lot of energy. You want your engine to run really fast. If you are lying in bed and you're trying to go to sleep for the night, how do you want your engine to run? Slow. Yeah. But the challenge comes when our engine, right? And it's hard. So sometimes when our engine's running really fast, or our mind is stuck on something, or we're agitated or upset, there are some tools that we can use to help us reset our engines, come to a calmer place, get to something that feels like the just right place for our bodies and our minds. And so I want to invite you to indulge me in one really quick practice that we sometimes do in our reflection room space and that we have sometimes done in my family. And it is a breathing exercise. All right? How many of us here have ever breathed before? All right, so you already have had some practice. All right, we're gonna breathe in a specific way, and it's called 5-7-8 breathing. And what that means is that we're gonna breathe in for a count of 5, and usually this will be through your nose, but it doesn't have to be. So breathe in really deeply for a count of 5, and then we're gonna hold our breath for a count of 7, as best we can, and then we're gonna let our breath out very slowly for a count of 8, and usually that is through the mouth, but you can choose how you want to do it, okay? And so what we're going to do, I'm going to talk it through for us twice, and then we'll do it a couple of times, 2 more times together, and I'm not going to say the numbers. We're just going to try and do it together, all right? I'm going to try and do it for the older folks in this room who have full-sized bodies and full-sized lungs. This might feel a little fast to you because we're going to do it a little faster than I might if we didn't have people with small lungs also doing this today, all right? But it's something that you can do. This is a nice practice because you can do it anytime, anywhere you are. People around you don't even have to know. It's just you doing your own breathing, and you can even count in your head instead of out loud. But I'm going to start out loud. Are we ready? So we're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Ready? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. the room feels a little different now than it did a few minutes ago to me. This is one of our tools, again, that we can use wherever we are. There is something about breathing in a space where other people are doing the practice too that is really quite, it makes a difference in the room. And so thank you for trying this out with me. And we're excited to go and experience the reflection room for those who are choosing to do that today, and our Helping Hands project for those who are going there, and our youth focus and our preschool. And so now it is time for our learners and leaders who are heading to our spaces to head out as we sing them out.
Good morning. My name is David Massey. I'm a member of the spiritual care team here at TVUUC. We answer the pastoral care line during the day and early evening, 7 days a week, and respond to phone messages as soon as we hear them. That number is in the order of service and in the weekly newsletter. Please call or text us if you need to talk in confidence about a problem or issue you are facing, if you have a joy or a concern to share with the congregation, if you need rides to a medical appointment or to the hospital, if you need a visitor to bring some cheer to your week. Also, please stop by the caring table in the Greg McKendry Fellowship Hall after the service and sign cards that will be mailed to those in need of our good wishes. Carolyn Franks and Tony Powell are volunteering at that table this morning. This is the time in our service when we share joys and concerns. This morning, our hearts go out to two communities targeted by at least misunderstanding, if not hate. July, 1 year ago, Reverend Joe Talbert, pastor of Foster Chapel Baptist Church in East Knoxville, was in this pulpit sharing his thoughts on how people of faith can put love into action to support movements for social justice. Reverend Talbert himself participates in one such effort, the Waymakers Collective, an Appalachian arts and culture community that funds and supports artists and cultural expression in the Southern Mountains. Together with the artists they support, Waymakers is a diverse, multiracial group of people. Black, white, indigenous, young, old, straight, queer, trans. Some are Christians, some practice other faiths, some don't participate in organized religion. Last weekend, Waymakers held its annual meeting at the Pine Mountain Settlement School in Harlan, Kentucky. There were performances by member artists, artist workshops, and the like. In addition, a space for healing and quiet reflection was set up in the chapel at the settlement school. Just to be clear, Waymakers had rented the entire facility, including the chapel, for the entire weekend. Somehow, several white men and women in the community heard about the meeting, showed up at the settlement school, and invaded the chapel, claiming that the Waymakers were desecrating a Christian space and needed to leave right away. Others used trucks to block the roads and paths to exit the facility. To make a long story short, the confrontation lasted about an hour, but resulted, fortunately, in no physical violence. However, for safety reasons, The Waymakers Collective decided to end the meeting early. They even felt the need to organize caravans to exit the school and the county. A second community targeted by hate is even closer to home. One or more individuals recently committed vandalism at Westside UU Church in Farragut, one of our sister congregations in the Knoxville area. The incident, along with news of recent attacks on houses of worship across the country, has compelled Westside at its service this morning to give serious consideration to church safety and to ask, how does the transformative power of love respond to acts of hate and fear? We know something about that. And so this morning we stand in solidarity with Reverend Joe Talbert, the Waymakers Collective, Reverend Carol Baudot and the Westside Congregation, and all those who seek to bridge differences across artificial divides. This includes our solidarity with the teachers and parents of Covenant School in Nashville. This morning, we must once again confront the sad fact that we have a governor and a legislative supermajority who seem incapable of advocating for or adopting any meaningful measures to address gun violence, which, as you know, is happening every day across the country. But we are grateful that Mark Mahundro and Chris Buice joined other gun violence protesters at the state capitol this past week in solidarity with the parents of Covenant School, and that Reverend Buice, thank you to Mark and to Reverend Buice, who participated in a press conference of religious leaders in Nashville to demand action. Today, we mourn with the family, friends, and neighbors of Ben Kretich, who died last Monday at the age of 24. Ben was walking to meet his dad for their weekly lunch at the Sunspot when he was struck by an impaired driver on Kingston Pike, very close to the entrance of this church. Diagnosed with autism at an early age, Ben was a pioneer and trailblazer for other children with disabilities and their families through the efforts of his parents to fight for Ben's right to participate fully in public education in Knox County. Ben developed into a fun-loving, caring, giving, independent young man with an ability to play several musical instruments and a job playing piano for assisted living facilities, and that's just the half of it. Such a remarkable life. In this congregation, Keith Swafford is at home with a mild case of COVID. So far, his husband, the Reverend John Coffey, who would have been here this morning, has not come down with the virus. But John and Keith want to remind us that COVID is still very much alive and circulating in the community. Please keep Angela Hoffman, Seth McConchy, and their child Nathaniel in your thoughts as they mourn the coming loss of Angela's father, Charles L. Hoffman. They are with him and family in Indiana right now as he moves toward his transition while in hospice. And we have joys to share. Congratulations to Matthew Blondell and crew for winning the third place prize for TVU's pasta dish in the Family Promise fundraiser Pasta and Bluegrass Festival last night, thanks to all the TVUC volunteers who helped make the event a fun evening for a very great cause. And finally, Gordon and Judy Gibson were married in the Grand Tetons, with the Tetons as a backdrop to their wedding ceremony on August the 25th, 1963, two together for 60 years as of this past Friday. Congratulations. And so we hold these joys and sorrows in our heart this day along with those that remain unspoken and unknown.
We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love. We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love.
If humanists had a rosary, it might sound like something that expresses gratitude for human achievements and values without invoking any divine authority or intervention. For example, we are thankful for the gift of reason that allows us to explore and understand the world. We are thankful for the gift of freedom that allows us to choose our own paths and goals. We are thankful for the gift of compassion that allows us to empathize and cooperate with others. We are thankful for the gift of creativity that allows us to express ourselves and enrich our lives. We are thankful for the gift of diversity that allows us to appreciate and learn from different perspectives. We are thankful for the gift of resilience that allows us to overcome challenges and grow from them. We are thankful for the gift of hope that allows us to envision and work for a better future.
Let's pause for a moment of silent meditation and reflection together. So be it.
Hello, this is the melody that we practiced before the service for those of you who are here. And we're going to start with that C drone on the open string. And I will sing the melody to you. You can sing it with me. And on the third and fourth times through each line, I'll be adding some harmony. If you know it, feel free to add it too. But you can stick to the main melody too. Kindness makes a place for you where everything is new. Kindness makes a place for you where everything is new. Kindness makes a place for you where everything is new. Kindness makes a place for you where everything is new. Beauty makes a place for you where everything is new. Beauty makes a place for you where everything is new. Beauty makes a place for you where everything Justice makes a place for you where everything is new. Justice makes a place for you where everything is new. Justice makes a place for you where everything is new. Justice makes a place for you where everything is new.
Our offering today goes for a special purpose. Before I say what that purpose is, let me tell you many ways you can give. One way is if you're in the room, you can put a cash or check in the baskets that are going around. There's a kiosk in the lobby you can use to a credit card or debit card. If you're watching from home, you can give a gift by text message. Send TVUUC and amount to 73256. The cause we're giving today is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee's Disaster Relief Fund, and we're mindful of those suffering from fires in Hawaii and flooding in California. And the UUSC empowers grassroots groups. So many disaster relief funds are groups that come in when the disaster happens and leave. But what the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee does is empower grassroots groups that are local to the area to act, that are going to stay after the initial disaster response. So give generously to these grassroots efforts to make a difference in the face of disaster. There's an old story about a man who was walking along the top of a cliff when he tripped and he fell, and as he was falling down, he managed to grab hold of a branch, and he was holding on to that branch for dear life, and he looked up and he cried toward heaven, "Oh God, help me." And all of a sudden, a loud, booming voice came down from above and said, "I am the Lord your God. Let go of that branch and I will bear you safely to the top." The man looked down at the rocks below and looked up again and said, "Is there anybody else up there who can help me?" This morning I want to talk about prayer, but I don't want to talk about it in the conventional sense of the term. I want to speak about what prayer might mean for those of us who have a higher than level of skepticism in our lives. Those of us who may be moved to prayer under certain circumstances, but not quite ready to let go of that branch. I want to talk about prayer from a human perspective. Now, William James was a famous psychologist of religion at the turn of the 20th century, 19th to 20th century, and he said in one of his books, there are many arguments for why we should not pray, and there are many arguments for why we should pray, but very little is said about why we do pray, and the reason we do pray is because we can't help it. There's an old saying, probably that dates back to World War I, that says there are no atheists in foxholes. And I would dispute that. I would say there are atheists in foxholes. You just can't tell them apart from anybody else because everybody is praying. The impulse to pray is not limited to believers. An atheist who falls off a cliff might pray. A parent with a child in a hospital might pray. A family that loses its home in a flood or a fire might pray. The impulse to pray comes in those moments when we feel most powerless, when we feel like we're holding on by a thread. Now, some see prayer as an affirmation or an act of belief in God. But another way to see prayer is a reminder of our own humanity, a reminder that we are not gods. We are not all-powerful. We are not in control of all events. And indeed, we are often at the mercy of events that are beyond our control. Think of traditional times for prayer. Human beings often pray before meals, a reminder that moment that we're not self-sufficient, that we're dependent on things outside of ourselves in order to survive. Or the prayers before bedtime, a reminder that we are surrendering to sleep. We are letting go to sleep, unconsciousness, and all the powerlessness that involves. We do not pray because we're believers, we pray because we're human. When the Reverend Edward Everett Hale was chaplain of the United States Senate in Washington, D.C., he was asked, "Do you pray for the senators?" And he said, "No, I look at the senators and I pray for the country." This week, anyone watching our legislature in Nashville also might be similarly moved to pray for the people of this state and the people of our nation. We are living in such tumultuous times, anyone might be moved, even the skeptical among us, to pray, feeling that sense of powerlessness. Today, we're mindful of the increasing intolerance in our country, with mothers being kicked out of rooms at the legislature because they want reform. We're mindful of our friends, the Reverend Joe Tolbert, organizing for social change, literally being chased out of a retreat center. It's like the worst moments of the civil rights movement, where people had to evacuate from retreat centers. And this kind of hostility sometimes seeps into the day-to-day and the more mundane places in our life. I know sometimes the tone on the internet gets so bad that I pray before I open my email. Pythagoras, a philosopher who lived 500 years before the birth of Jesus, once wrote, "Concerning the gods, I am unable to say whether they exist or not, nor if they do what they are like. There are many things which hinder us from knowledge. There is an obscurity of the subject and the shortness of human life." And many of the ancient philosophers did not want to waste time on speculative metaphysical questions, but wanted to focus on the more practical questions. How do we live our lives? How do we treat one another? Suffice it to say, the philosophers and the theologians will continue to debate the existence or non-existence of God. The topic being obscure and life being short, it is doubtful whether everyone will reach definitive conclusions on that matter. However, there are many answers for how we might live today. Robert G. Ingersoll once summarized his beliefs in a very succinct fashion when he said, "Happiness is the only good. The time to be happy is now, the place to be happy is here, and the way to be happy is to make others so." Our path to happiness involves making others happy. Kurt Vonnegut offered another simple statement when he said, "I am a humanist, which means in part that I have tried to behave decently without any expectations of rewards or punishments after I'm dead." When I was at the General Assembly at the Unitarian Universalist Association, we gathered in Pittsburgh, our denomination. I picked up a book, which I forgot to bring up here. The book is called Humanly Possible, 700 Years of Humanist Free-Thinking, Inquiry, and Hope by Sarah Bakewell. In this book, she suggests there are at least 3 different varieties of humanists, and she goes in historic order. First, some humanists believe in God, but also consider themselves humanists, and this is consistent with the original meaning of the word. Humanists were the early scholars who wanted to think beyond the Bible. Here's the book. Thank you. There we go. Very good. Wanted to think not only about the Bible, but consider the pagan philosophers and other learnings from other cultures that were around at the time. So that's the earliest form of humanism. The second group would be humanists that believe that action is more powerful than words. And I've encountered a lot of these humanists when I was an exchange student in Manchester, England, organizing for social change through groups like Third World First, Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders. Here, the emphasis is less on philosophy and more on action, more on those actions which honor the worth and dignity of all human beings and see all the people of the earth as one family. A third group embraces not only action but philosophy and rejects supernatural explanations of life for more natural ones, affirming the dignity of people, striving to achieve self-realization through the use of reason, the scientific method, the study of the humanities, including the arts and music and other sources of inspiration. Now, these are 3 ways to think about humanism. My friend, the Reverend Melanie Morrell Sullivan, once gave a sermon called 7 Types of Humanism. So you might have your own categories out there that you're thinking about or mindful today. Suffice it to say, humanists have denominational differences, like many others. And each variety has different ideas about the efficacy of prayer, which is our topic today. So here is the case for prayer. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, humanist or not. Once a woman was asked, "What do you gain from prayer?" And she said, "Nothing. But you might want to ask what I lose." And I lose anger. And I lose resentments. And I lose bitterness. And I lose egotism and depression and insecurity. In other words, when we reflect on prayer, it may not be about what we have to gain, but what we have to lose. Now, my mom, an Episcopal, my dad was an Episcopal minister and she was Episcopalian. She had a prayer list of all the people, family, and friends that she had wanted to pray for. But the list included people all over the world, people suffering from natural disaster or war. Her prayer was a way of being mindful of all the people of the earth. Now, does this kind of prayer work? Well, I want to suggest that any activity that makes us a little less egotistical works. Any activity that makes us a little less egotistical works. There's a proverb that says, humility is not about thinking less of ourselves, but thinking of ourselves less. So anything that helps us move in the direction of thinking of ourselves less works. It works. Rabbi Harold Kushner once wrote, people who pray for miracles usually don't get miracles, but people who pray for courage, for strength to bear the unbearable, very often find their prayers answered. Their prayers help them tap into the hidden reserves of faith and courage that were not available to them before. Rabbi Kushner wrote these words after losing his son to a very terrible and rare disease that was untreatable. And the loss of his son's life to this disease changed the way he thought about prayer. He knew from experience that people who pray for miracles do not always get what they pray for, because he prayed for a miracle. He prayed for a miracle, and a miracle was not forthcoming. Nevertheless, he continued to pray. And the only reason he may have continued to pray is simply because he couldn't help it. This week, a young man, Ben Kredich, 21 years old, died just down the road from us, killed on the sidewalk on Kingston Pike when a driver veered over and hit him. Today, our prayers go to his family, his parents, and his brother, and every one of his neighbors and friends in this community who've been traumatized by that event. Prayer doesn't take away anyone's pain. Prayer doesn't undo what cannot be undone. But prayer can remind us that we are all human, and we are never more human than when we share our pain together. This week, a member of our congregation, Rachel Kovac, sent me words that help her when she's in difficult situations. These words come from a Unitarian Universalist meditation manual, and these words will serve as the closing words of our sermon. May these words help us in those moments when we are struggling to decide whether to hold on or whether to let go. So often words fail us, and we do not know to whom or what to pray. We ask for legs that can walk for peace, arms that can work for justice, voices that can speak with love, hands that can soothe a feverish brow. By our actions and voices, may our prayer be sent. Shalom, salam, om, amen. Let us join together in our closing hymn. It's in the Teal hymnal, hymn 1064, Blue Boat Home. world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love. Proclaim the truth that makes us free.
Let people living in all lands declare gratitude and they are found. Lives of all differences and stand in love and understanding.
As our last act of worship, I invite you to turn and greet your neighbor.